Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider and like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Long Assistant 8873 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it's titled, Am I the Arsehole for not letting my friends use my backyard for their wedding because they do not want me to bring a +1. Here is the situation. Last summer, I bought my grandparents' house. This house was the hangout spot for my friends and I throughout our childhood. This includes my friend Dave. The house has a sizable amount of land, which includes a lake and a gazebo. I was supposed to buy the house with my now ex-girlfriend, Leslie, but going through the process of getting approved to buy, I found out that she has some massive amounts of credit card and personal debt that she hid from me throughout our 4 years together. I decided to break up as a result. That was about 6 months ago. I met Leslie because Dave's long-term girlfriend, Kim, is Leslie's cousin. Dave and Kim are engaged and set to get married in April. When I was buying the house, they asked if they could have the ceremony at the gazebo, which I agreed to do. In December, I started dating again. Leslie has not taken this well at all. She thinks we're going to get back together and has tried multiple times to make that happen. I told her in no uncertain terms that isn't happening. Dave and Kim have asked me not to bring a +1 to the wedding for Leslie's sake. I've told them that this request is ridiculous. The wedding is happening at my house, using my land, and I'm not allowed to bring a date because of a crazy ex. If that is the case, they need to find a new venue for the wedding. They're pissed about this given the short time frame of when the wedding is supposed to happen. So, we're in an impasse. Am I the arsehole? OP adds, I've seen a few things brought up a number of times in the comments, and so I'll quickly address them here. 1. I'm fully aware of the liability issues, which is why I purchased, and they reimbursed me for a special event insurance policy, which will provide 100% coverage for any damages, claims, injuries, etc. to any of the property or persons up to $2 million. It's one of the first things we did after I agreed to have the event in my home. 2. The wedding will have a maximum, if everyone comes, of 75 guests, 5 catering staff and 5 security staff. The security is because this is in an open area that anyone walking past can access. The house has hosted events twice this size and logistically, it's been fine. On the property are 2 cottages, one with 1 bathroom and the other with 2 bathrooms. The only portion of my house that will not be locked during the wedding is the finished basement. The basement has 2 bathrooms. 3. Every person who is single, i.e. not in an established relationship, received an invitation with a +1, including me and Leslie. This talks came after I sent in my return card and indicated I was bringing a +1. Now they're saying that they do not want me to have a +1 because Leslie blew up about it and they're afraid of a blow up at the wedding. 4. Leslie indicated she intends to bring someone on her card. I do not know if she will actually bring someone. Breaking this down, they're using your property, which you graciously allowed them to use. They gave everyone a +1, which you're using, and then it's just OP's ex who seems to be kicking up a fuss about this. You know, if Leslie can't handle seeing OP with someone new, then, that's her problem. So someone said to OP, pull an Uno reverse, tell them Leslie isn't allowed on your property, and watch their heads explode. OP says the petty part of me did absolutely consider saying, well, Leslie cannot come to my house or on my land, so it shouldn't be a problem. Another commenter said, out of curiosity, are either you and/or Leslie in the wedding party? OP says Leslie is in the wedding party. Dave is the youngest of 5 boys, so all his groomsmen are his brothers. Commenter says, that was downvoted, this one is really tough. I'm going with everyone sucks here, although it is more or less a toss-up with that and no one's an arsehole here. Listen, I get it. It's your house and you're doing them a favor. But is bringing a date when you've been dating again for 2 months really a hill you want your friendship to die on? She isn't just your ex, she is the bride's family. Can't you go it alone for this one day? Or bring a friend instead of romantic interest so you aren't intentionally causing drama at your friend's wedding? If you take the venue out of it, would you expect to bring a date? And if the answer is no, Did you tell them when you said you could use the house that there was such a big string attached? Their wedding is in April. Telling them to find somewhere else at this point is huge, most likely friendship ending thing. Opie says, I do not consider this a big string attached. All of our single friends have a +1. Leslie has a +1. I'm literally the only person who is not in an established couple, who they do not want to have a +1. I'd expect to be treated like every other guest. I know Leslie is Kim's family, but Dave and I have been family to each other. I've known Dave since I was 3 years old. We grew up together. This makes me feel like we're not as close as I previously thought. And if I knew they would ever consider treating me like a stranger, which is what this feels like, I would absolutely have never agreed to let them use my land for the wedding. Opie responding to another commenter saying, for the last 6 months, my life, because of Leslie, has been drama. Every person who will be attending the wedding is in some way or form connected to the drama. The woman I am dating is not. I want someone who is disconnected from this drama, who I do not feel like I have to walk on eggshells around. My peace also matters. All I'm asking for them is to tell Leslie, just act like an adult for 4 hours. But instead, they'd rather have me uncomfortable than to have that talk, when I am doing what I can to help them with this wedding. Now, just jumping in here, part of me's thinking that all of this is going on. They don't want you to bring partner because everyone around you is still trying to get you with Leslie in some weird way to try and get you back together. You know, that may not be the case at all, but just popped into the old noggin there. Someone says, why security? Opie says, security is to keep people out. This is an open area. The wedding is outside and have acres of land and is largely unfenced, including this section. Any stranger could easily walk up on the event. A commenter, again who was downvoted, said, one thing, you're not entitled to Leslie's financial information as a boyfriend, even as a long-term boyfriend. She was not hiding it from you. It was none of your business. It became your business when merging finances became a likelihood. Opie says, I'm entitled to not being told lies. In conversations about finances, she misrepresented her financial status. She is the one who initiated our conversations about money about 6 months into the relationship and then hid information for years about her financial situation. She demanded to know about my income, debt, and savings. I provided it because I thought we're planning a future together. I asked for the same information and she described her credit card debt as very little. Sorry, but 50k of credit card debt is not very little. If her view was, you do not have a right to know, then okay, but that was not her view at all. So yeah, she hid it from me. Someone asks, how much debt was she in aside from the 50k? Opie says about 30k in student loans and owes about 20k on a car. We could pay off the credit card debt in probably about 3 years' time. My issue is her lying about it. I lost trust in her. Someone says 75 guests is 74 plus, so not small. Why they are thinking of having someone at the wedding who they even say is going to go nuts to the homeowner is beyond me. I'm sorry to say this, but I don't think Dave's ever been your friend. I think he's always been a friend to the family's money. You do say as a child he used to hang out at your grandparents' house. Opie says this whole thing is making me reassess our relationship. There are people who left our friend group over the years citing Dave's selfishness as a part of the reason. Someone said to Opie, you need to be the bigger person. Opie says, as my therapist says, being the bigger person does not mean allowing yourself to be stepped on. It means loving people when they do not deserve it. And love rarely looks like capitulation. So Opie came in with her update and said, so I met with Dave this morning. We talked for almost 2 hours about everything. I laid it out that I thought he was, at best, a shitty friend. I went through our long history of various things over the years that has me questioning our friendship. That was the bulk of our conversation. We then turned to the breakup with Leslie and the shit show of the last 6 months. Throughout the last 6 months, despite Leslie's craziness, I've bent over backwards to try and accommodate her feelings. She's shown up to my house in the middle of the night. I did not go for a restraining order. When I go out, I do not go places I know that her and her family like to go to. She's implied to her family and mutual friends at various times that I cheated and/or that I took advantage of her financially. Neither of which is true at all. I've held my tongue to not embarrass her about these things in front of her friends and family. Dave knows all that and yet is demanding once again that I put Leslie's feelings before my own. I said you and everyone need to stop coddling her like she is a fucking child. Dave concedes that Leslie has been crazy and ridiculous since the breakup. But he says she feels she did not get the closure after the relationship. She wants to have an evening where she can talk to you and get that closure. He also told me that Leslie has been very vigilant about paying off her debt and paid off almost $10,000 of the credit card debt. She wants to talk to me about her progress, to see if that might cause me to change my mind. It will not. I asked him, so do you expect me to go to the wedding and talk to her? Because I have blocked her everywhere and, date or not, I do not plan to say a single mumbling word to her. He said, I fully expect she would lose it if you all do not talk at the wedding. I told him if that's the case, then for the good of my property, I can't have Leslie come. If she is so unstable that I need to be coerced into a conversation with her, she is too unsafe to be a guest, in any capacity, in my home. So I've told him, based on what he has told me, Leslie cannot come to my house or on my land. I'm willing to still have the wedding at my place, but I cannot trust Leslie won't do something given what you are telling me. Dave lost it at this point. He said, fuck you and your shit. I don't need it. So I said, then the wedding is off. He left. So that's the state of things. OP replied to a deleted comment and said, my peace of mind matters. And I offered a solution that keeps the peace while also not exposing me to the chaos that is Leslie. Leslie does not come to the wedding. I would have been willing to let him have it at my place then. I'd be willing to not come to the wedding myself to make it fair. Meeting and speaking with Leslie is not keeping the peace. It disrupts my peace of mind. A commenter, again, who was downvoted, said, you handled this awfully. You don't need to start a heart-to-heart about your ex-girlfriend by laying out every grievance you ever had in your relationship with Dave. Where do you expect him to be mentally and emotionally when you even start the conversation about your ex? No wonder he blew up at the end. He felt attacked. OP says this was not a heart-to-heart about my ex. This was a heart-to-heart with Dave about our relationship, his and mine. We talked about Leslie. I was done with those discussions months ago. I made it clear when setting it up, because I understand Leslie's position. I understand Kim's position, but I did not understand Dave's position. He knew all the shit and was still acting that way. The commenter says, I think wealth attracts assholes. And I think OP is probably a bit sheltered cognitively that his wealth has always given him power over people's behavior to a certain extent. And I think a large part of the shock for OP here is that friend is walking away from that dynamic. OP says, I have no idea why you think that I grew up wealthy and sheltered. I did not. You notice I did not mention my parents in the post. That is because my parents were too broke to care for me, as determined by the state. My grandparents had enough to where I could grow up middle class, meaning no worries about my basic necessities, clothing, food, and shelter. But anything beyond those was on me. College was paid for by my scholarships and work-study jobs. Grad school was paid for by my employer. I now make relatively good money, and that money stretches quite far because I live in a fairly low-cost rural community and have no kids. If I lived where my job's office is located, I'd be living in a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate. And Dave and I's dynamic historically has been me going along with whatever he wants, often to my detriment. I think that is why they came to me, rather than even attempt to get Leslie to behave. My shock is that I thought he legitimately cared about my feelings and well-being. This experience makes it clear he does not. Some of those comments were wild in my opinion, especially that last one. Why did they get OP was sheltered cognitively and that the wealth has given him power now? I mean, oh dear. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Traditional Area 648, who says, am I the arsehole here for defending and praising my daughter when she broke a bully's nose trying to defend a kid? And a couple of warnings before we get into this story. It contains assault, death of a loved one, and cancer as well. So if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Likely be the last story of the video. Up to you. Let's get started. Not an English speaker. In the title I said my daughter, because this little angel of 7 years isn't mine biologically, but she's the daughter of my best friend who died of cancer, and he asked me to take care of her like she was mine. It's a very long, boring, and too emotional story to be explained here. Sophie is my whole world. She is sweet, kind, and always has unlimited energy, sometimes too much, and most of all, she always defends the other ones. She is the exact copy of my best friend, and sometimes when she sleeps I watch her and I cry because I think of her father, and it's just like a piece of me died and she is remembering it. Anyway, my parents were and still are strongly against my choice and my promise because I'm too young and too unexperienced to deal with an enormous thing like this, and they will always find something that isn't right. The way I dress her, the values I try to teach her, the way she plays, so basically nothing is good for them. But don't worry, it's the habit and I learned to deal with it. But yesterday, what I said in the title happened. She's playing in the garden of the school with her bestie, Mary, and she heard a kid yelling, "Stop, you're hurting me, leave me alone." And when she got near, she saw a kid bullying a guy and kicking him on the body. Here comes a thing that I taught her. If you warn someone for 3 times to stop it and she doesn't listen, you can teach him or her the meaning of the word stop. And this is what happened. She told the kid 3 times to stop. At the 3rd warning, the kid pushed her down and tried to kick her too, but she reacted by throwing a punch, breaking the little kid's nose. Now, before anyone says it, I know by myself that violence isn't an option and we all shouldn't react in that way, but sometimes it's necessary to make the bully learn the lesson. When I got the call from the school and they said they wanted to talk with me immediately, I got worried and started to think of the worst. But when I arrived and they told me what happened, I was confused because, like I told them, since when is punishing someone that stands up and tries to tap the bullied one is to condemn and punish? I told them the same thing, that violence isn't the option, and I told them I will have a talk with Sophie about what happened and teach her that what she did wasn't right. But you know what? I'm proud of her. I'm proud that she stands up and helps the others. Obviously, I told her that violence isn't a solution and all of that stuff, but I'm proud of my daughter. As you can imagine, for my parents it was the end of the fucking world. Their words, "What the fuck are you teaching her? Do you want her to be a criminal? Is that what we taught you?" And this kind of BS. I tried to explain them my point, but obviously they didn't even let me explain. And now to them, I'm like a criminal that teaches a little girl how to kill. So, am I the asshole here? Edit. Wow, I would never bet a cent on the fact that there were so many people on my side, because I know the internet and I know that we're all a bit saints when this thing happens, but it's nice to see that many people are honest. So thank you all for the support and your advices on the relationship with my parents. So the top commenter asked OP, did the school explain what the punishment the bully was getting? OP said, I didn't mention it because it wasn't the point. But after a long hour of talk and me menacing to sue them, the bully was suspended because it was the first time this accident happened. And sincerely, I don't get why no one ever thought that this kid was a problem. And Sophie got 3 days of school detention. A commenter says, let me be the first to shout, not the arsehole. And of course to remind you to teach her more nuanced awareness of law enforcement as she gets older. Another commenter says, not the arsehole, and good job. You're doing a great job parenting her. Tell the school that they need to do better about bullying behaviors from the kids and don't back down. Your parents need to calm down and quit being foolish. You should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. Keep moving forward. OP shortly after that came in with her update and says, I want again to thank you all and tell you how much I appreciate your support and ideas from the last post because I wasn't expecting it. Some of you made me think and I did what I usually do when I have thoughts. I went to my grandparents for some real support and confrontation. I always do this and they know it, so they're always ready for me. So this morning I advised them that I would be there to have a talk with them, and they were super happy, mostly or entirely, because I was bringing Sophie too, and they absolutely love and adore her. Sophie was very happy and excited for visiting them. Once there, obviously they hugged and kissed her like I wasn't existing for those 10 minutes, and then my grandpa went to play with her, and I remained alone to have a talk with my grandma. I told her what happened and all the mess, and she without hesitation asked me if I did something alone with Sophie, and what I told her. I told her that I brought my little angel for an ice cream because no matter what the school said, I was proud of her for standing up and defending the bullied kid, and we spent the whole day together doing fun stuff. She said that she was proud too of Sophie, and gave me a new perspective on what happened that I would never have thought about. Then we obviously remained for lunch, and my grandma, like always, made a wedding lunch. Like me and Sophie weren't eating since 40 years. We remained there for a few more hours and we all played together until a few minutes ago. I brought Sophie to a friend's house for a party. I still don't know whose the party is and why there is a party, but okay. But the thing that my grandma told me, and I'm still thinking about, is my parents' immediate angry and aggressive reaction to what happened, like I was teaching Sophie the worst things on the planet. So I thought about it a lot and finally understood what my grandma was trying to say. It's all about my relationship with my parents and how much I care for their opinion. I admit that I love to hear people's opinion, but the mistake that I made is to give too much value to what my parents think and not much on what I think is right or not. I know that they're my parents, and of course, what they might say is important, but like Grandma said, honey, you're not 14 anymore. You're almost 30, and you have a daughter with you. It's time to make your own life, your own choices, your own mistakes. Your parents will forever tell you what they want and not want you to hear. Stop bothering yourself about what they think and start to think with your own mind about your life and not theirs. How much it is difficult to admit, but she is right, like I would say. And it's true that I rely a lot on them because they are my parents and their words have importance. So I don't know, maybe it's because I'm afraid to be a failure in their eyes, because Grandma is absolutely right. I need to make my own life and my own decisions and have every intention to do it. So nothing, just this. Just a simple talk with my grandma made me realize a lot of things, like always. And to me, it was fair to let you know too. If you want to read my first post, and then shares the link. Top comments on that said, family dynamics and advice from grandparents. This post has it all. Glad to hear everything worked out and your daughter is a badass defender. Here's hoping she uses her skills for good and not evil. Another comment says, Granny is wise. Great idea to go see her. Perspective is always good. So carry on with your daughter. You're doing a great job. Another commenter says, it's not like you're teaching her to go around punching everyone or picking fights. She came to the defense of someone in need. Get Wonder Woman a cape. She was the kid's hero. She will be able to take care of herself and others in a world devaluing everyone, especially women. Keep it up, and maybe get her into martial arts to refine those skills. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. You are absolutely amazing. Never forget that. And I will point to the screen when I said that. Never forget that. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.